Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is Aria Celestial. Aria Celestial is the founder of Maria's Healing. She is a divine healer, hypnotherapist, and intuitive coach working with clients from all over the world. Aria is all about inspiring people to live life beyond their dreams and believes that we have a responsibility to be the best version of ourselves in this lifetime so we can spread our gifts to others. By shining our unique bright light, we inspire others to do the same, continuing the ripple effect. She specializes in empowering her clients to live their truest, most divine life. She helps her clients release any blocks they may have, helping them see the external environment as an invaluable feedback tool and teaching them tools to heal any patterns, emotions that may be coming up for them throughout their life so they can too live the life of their dreams on their own terms. Welcome to the podcast, Aria.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so just so people can get to know you, let's start out by telling them where you grew up, how you started out, how you got to be where you are today.
Awesome. So I actually was born in Czech Republic, in Prague, and I lived there until I was about 8 or 9 years old. And then my mom with my stepdad decided, oh, we're just gonna come and change countries, and we moved to Ireland. Didn't speak any English at that point, so that was quite a big jump at 8 years old to be jumping into a completely different country, culture, language. And it was really exciting. I loved it. I learned so much from living in Ireland. And then at 18, I moved to England to study psychology. And that kind of got me onto my route as a therapist. But originally, I was very much interested in being a psychotherapist and doing a PhD and doing very much that kind of side of things. And then as a client myself, going into different types of therapies as I was growing. Want to repeat. Learned a lot from it, but it was tough. I learned I didn't like how the system worked. I didn't like how it relied on the but actually when you're amidst depression or anxiety, you don't have thrown around from one system to another. So I started looking into, okay, so what can I do on my side in terms of being a therapist? And I discovered hypnotherapy, and that felt really amazing, really right, because you have so much power over the magnitude of effect that you can have for your clients, and you're actively working with the subconscious mind rather than the conscious part of the brain that you're working with when it's more of a talking therapy. And I love it so much. And then as I was studying hypnotherapy, Reiki discovered me, which is how I got into energy healing. And at that point, I was not spiritual at all. I didn't believe in energy. It got all trained out of me in my degree. It was just, there is no soul. It's just environment and genes, and that's all you are in your life. When I used to believe in all this kind of stuff when I was a teenager, and this energy healing kind of opened me up to all these things again. And I'm so, so grateful it came across my life. And it's just been a roller coaster since then. It's been up and down. So I ended up combining the techniques of energy healing, hypnotherapy, and coaching to kind of help clients along their life, along their pathway. Because along my journey, I've kind of realized that we limit ourselves so much to the dreams that we have in our lives, and we limit them to expectations of society and of our family of what our dreams should be like and the kind of life we should have or we are able to have, because actually we can't be a movie star if you didn't grow up in that environment, because you don't have the tools and the networks to be able to make that happen, and it's just so unlikely. And I just realized actually that's complete bollocks. I'm gonna try and keep it clean. And I started working towards like these amazing big things like becoming a nomad. That was not something I was raised as a possibility at all. I had no idea about it. I didn't know anybody. And I kind of just decided in January, in 2018, I think, or 2019. And I just did it. Within 2 months, I was a nomad. I got rid of all of my stuff, and it just happened. And that's really fired me up in working with my clients in a very different way and really helping them accomplish their dreams and work towards them and actually realize them as well. Because it's so empowering once you realize anything can happen once you kind of start developing the tools and you start working on yourself.
Mm-hmm. And that is exciting to know, because sometimes things look so big or so far away and you think, how can I ever get there?
Absolutely. And one of the things I realize is that there's several things that are really important to feel like it is possible. Like, obviously, there's so many people and so many inspirational speakers out there saying, you can do whatever you set your mind to. And it's true, you can. But how the hell do we do it?
Yes, that's right. How do we do it? I mean,
And one of the things,
one thing, action is something else.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of realizing those little gaps in between that help you take those steps forward. And there were a few things that I realized were really important. Is one, accountability. So having some form of community or somebody to work with that helps you towards that believes in you more than you believe in yourself. It's so, so essential. And to be working towards something you're passionate about, but to also be constantly pushed out of your comfort zone. Because if you're in your comfort zone and you have nobody pushing you out of it, then you just stay stuck with where you are. And if you don't have that accountability or that support, that belief from somebody else, and that nudge from somebody else, it's so easy to just keep slipping back into the comfort of what we know and who we are, because our body just screams against anything new and it gets terrified. And you just need somebody to help you along the way to work through that fear and to work with it and release it and embrace it and see where it takes you, and taking that unknown step of, you don't need to know every step. You just need to take the first one and take it from there. I always say to my clients, it's like a baby walking. They have no idea what's going to happen. They just start taking that one step at a time, and they might fall, they might pick themselves back up and keep going. Eventually they get it, but they don't get it on the first try. And for some reason, as adults, we seem to think we need to get everything perfect on the first go and have like this massive plan. And it's amazing what happens when you go into it without a plan and realize that your plan can change along the way as you're on that journey, as you're learning, as you're growing, and you can expand from that. And you would miss out on all those learning experiences if you just spent all these months and years trying to plan for this one big thing, and then realize once you start doing it, you've wasted all that time because that's not your plan anymore.
Yes, so, that is so true. And I can tell you from personal experience that happens. You know, you're going, you're working so hard, and then you're like, oh, that's the wrong direction. I need to go this way. So it's like you're paddling upstream and you're supposed to be going the other way.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so powerful when people realize that as well. Like, what I find with a lot of my clients is they don't realize that they're still working towards something they're not passionate about. They're just working towards that goal because they set that goal and they have to accomplish it, without leaving for the space and the creativity of, this isn't my mission anymore. This isn't what I'm passionate about anymore. I've grown past that and I can change direction as I go along. And that's just part of the journey. And that's such a powerful thing to realize, that you can just flow in and out. And maybe that original goal was what you had to do to discover your true mission in life. And you've just got to follow that flow.
Exactly. And I find that sometimes when we're doing that, we think we're going in the right direction and we're working so hard. We're just exhausted, and we're exhausted because it's no longer our passion. So things that are no longer your passion exhaust you. Even if you think it's a great goal, you know, this is an awesome goal, but it's not my goal anymore. So if it's not your goal anymore, you're going to get exhausted and working. But when you go towards your passion, things just kind of flow. Have you noticed that? They just flows, and it doesn't even seem like work.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's work, but it doesn't seem like it because you're just into it. So
and how beautiful is it?
Question for you. Okay, so I have been in my home for about almost 20 years, and I'm thinking to myself, if I wanted to be a nomad, or if I wanted to be a perpetual traveler, is that what you're doing? You're kind of a perpetual traveler.
Yeah.
I just thinking about all the stuff in my house is just overwhelming. I'm like, what would I do? And what would I actually bring with me? So tell me about the mindset of that and how you prepared yourself for that.
I just did it. Honestly, in January, mid-January, it was a new moon and I was doing a meditation around my goals that I want from life. And I realized that I am done faffing around and letting my fears rule me, and that I just want to go traveling. So I told myself, okay, 1 year today, 365 days from now, I'm going traveling. And then I kind of started setting the plans into motion and realized, but I want to change my job. I need to change where I live to make it cheaper anyway. I'm getting out of London because it's way too expensive here and I don't want to be here anymore anyway. And I was planning on making all these changes. So I kind of did the extra mile and I was like, well, why don't I just not have a set home and just live out of a backpack? And that will save me a lot of money. And that's what I'm going to be doing while traveling anyway. So I just did it without planning it. It was literally within a month of making that decision, I put my resignation in my job and on my house. And within 2 months, my stuff was in a backpack. And the funny thing is, I had so many jobs lined up during that period, and I was actually going abroad a week before I had to move out. So when I came back, I was still working full time and I had to get rid of all my stuff. And I have 5 cars worth of stuff to move. I was a massive hoarder when it came to things. Like I was in a tiny studio apartment in London, but I had a lot of stuff. And it was hilarious doing the packing process because it was just, okay, let's chuck this into this box. That's got to go to mom. That's too sentimental. So I've got to ship that to Ireland. This is essential. I need to travel with this. This isn't essential. So I've just got to take it to a car boot sale or donate it or something. And it was mayhem in my house because it was just this tiny studio apartment with boxes everywhere for days. And it was hilarious on the day. Once I got rid of all my stuff, which was incredibly painful because I was so attached to my things. I moved around quite a lot even when I was living in England. But where my things were, that's where home was. So I was so attached and it was so difficult for me to let go of them. And when I was doing the car boot sale, I was literally telling people, take care of her for me when I was giving them my stuff.
Oh.
And on the day when I was meant to be moving out of my house, because it was so short notice, all of the things that I had to fit into my backpack and my suitcase were just in the corner of the room. And the idea was, oh, it's just going to fit in the morning. It's fine. And I don't know if you've seen A Wild with Reese Witherspoon, but there's a scene there where she's trying to lift her backpack onto her back. And she physically cannot lift it. So she has to like sit on the floor and try and crawl into the backpack, putting herself on all fours, using the bed to try and hike herself up so she can stand up with the weight of the backpack. And I swear to God, that's what I felt like. Because once I fit everything in there and into my suitcase, it was so goddamn heavy. I couldn't actually lift it up or stand up with it. And I had to use my sofa to try and lift myself up. And the funny thing was that once I got it on, I still had my massive suitcase to carry. And it was so heavy, I could barely get it down the stairs. And I had to travel like an hour across London, from North London to South London, with like underground stairs and everything. And I was barely like dragging it around me.
Oh, no.
By the time I got to the house that I was house sitting for, because I realized I've got to find rent somehow, so I ended up house sitting for people and crashing on friends' couches on the days that I didn't have a house sit for. Mm-hmm. By the time I got there, I like collapsed onto the floor, sweating, dripping with sweat. I was like, that's it, I'm getting rid of this suitcase. And the next day I figured out what I'm sending back to my mom, and I was down to a backpack.
So just
but
the
you
backpack.
just learn along the way. You learn, like, it was an experience. It was not easy. And I had a lot of those ups and downs once I became a nomad without any foreplanning whatsoever. But I wouldn't take it back for a moment, because if I hadn't done it, I would have totally took myself out of it, because I would have let the fear get into my head and those voices play out and all those what ifs, and it would have never happened. Whereas this way, you're just in it and you've got to deal with it. And whatever the world throws us up, we're gonna deal with it. We have to. and it just takes you on a journey. And just because you plan 3 years in advance doesn't mean it's going to be easy. You're just missing out on 3 years.
Wow. So you started out your journey by house sitting for other people. Is that the way you actually made
Yeah.
some money so you could actually do this?
Basically, so I still had a job and I did have my business, but I had to make it online. So originally I was seeing my clients face to face in my studio in London, and I was paying crazy rent so that I could have my own space to see clients from. That was not a good business move on my side. That was another lesson there. And I kind of, because I decided to do this, and I was like, okay, well, I could either move to a different city where it's cheaper and get a job there, or I could continue the job I've got in London and just find different ways of accommodation. So I found out that you can do this house sitting thing where you basically live in somebody's house, take care of their pets. I adore animals, so that was a great combo, while they're away. And it's not paid, but it's free accommodation, basically. And it worked out really well. It was definitely something to adjust to, because I was in one place for like a week or two at a time. So I never had somewhere to live long enough to settle in. And the second I moved in somewhere, I had to start looking for the next place to live and hoping the dates match up. And if there were like 1 to 3 days gap in between the house sits, I'd have to find other places to stay. And sometimes that would be on friends' floors, friends' couches. And sometimes I'd be lagging this, I think it was like 25-kilo backpack when I started, around the London Underground, where it's boiling hot, from house to house. And sometimes I'd have to be doing that on a daily basis because I couldn't stay with one friend for 3 days. So I'd be like moving around while trying to still do my office job. It was insane. I have no idea how I did it, but I did it, and it saved me the money to be able to come to Asia by November. So it was from March to November that I was doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then when you came to Asia, what did you do? Were you just working remotely, or were you still doing house sitting?
Yeah, so by September, I was working completely remotely. And it was a massive struggle because I still haven't figured out how to actually make my business online. And it was a massive risk, I have to admit. And originally, before I left for Asia from September to November, I was living in Scotland. And I decided, screw it, I just need to get rent and I need to stay in one place for a little while because it was just too crazy. And I was hoping to get a job while I was still in England to still build up the business a little bit more. But it was so difficult to get a job that I ended up spending 2 months in Scotland not being able to get a job because all of my experience isn't temp jobs, it's long-term jobs. And then eventually I decided, I was actually originally going to go to Australia. That was another massive thing that just kept saying no to me. I got my Australian work and travel visa denied 3 times in a row. Not denied, made invalid. It's different, you can reapply again. I even got an agent for it after the second time it was made invalid, and it was still made invalid for the third time. I was like, okay, fine, Australia doesn't want me. It's clearly not gonna happen. I'm just gonna go to Asia. It's cheaper there. But that was a really scary move because in Australia, if I had a work and travel visa, I could still do the original plan of work part-time, travel, and build up the business. So I still had some income coming in, just somewhere else in a nicer country. But at least that was my perception. It's a nicer country, it's nicer weather. And I was there and it was beautiful. With Asia, you can't get it's very difficult to get a working visa. So I would be completely reliant on working online. And that was terrifying. So I ended up doing workaways, which is basically where you get food and accommodation for free in exchange for volunteering for about half the week. But that turned out that I couldn't do any work whatsoever because you're completely on their schedule and I couldn't book any meetings reliably. So I ended up not being able to continue that. And it's just been trial and error the whole time. And originally I was just living in hostels, which meant that I had to go look for co-working spaces where I could book out meeting rooms to see my clients and having to spend the money on that, and then never having any privacy, not being able to do my morning routines. That was really messing with me. So I did that for about 2 months while in Bali and then Thailand. And I ended up finding myself in Koh Phangan for 3 months and just settling down there for a little while. And now I'm in Bali, where I absolutely love it. So Asia has been a massive gift, but it was really terrifying when I got here first, definitely. Yeah.
Wow. So where are you living, or how is that working for you in Bali?
It's working out really well, actually. So when I was in Copenhagen, I met a partner, and I'm currently with him in Bali. And it's funny because I started traveling because I was like, this relationship thing isn't happening. I've been single for 4 years. I give up. I'm not going to wait around for somebody to show up in my life. I'm just going to do what I actually want to do with my life and hope eventually he shows up. And for some reason, I just had this idea that while you're traveling, you can't be in a relationship because, of course, you're never going to end up in the same places. And I didn't want to do a long distance thing. And then I met Kia in Koh Phangan, which is a tantric island, and that was a massive learning curve as well. That's been really interesting. And we've been together ever since, and we ended up coming to Bali together just before COVID massively broke out. And we've been here on lockdown ever since. And it's been such a gift. We did at one point think, should we go back to the UK? But neither of us actually has a base anywhere in the world. We have nowhere to go to. Mm-hmm. So it would have felt really strange going back to the UK now, because like there's no home, there's no stuff. And it's so much more expensive to go there. Like Asia's so much cheaper. It makes so much more sense to stay here. And it's been magical ever since. And it's been a really amazing creative spot for both of us to be in, actually.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So how is your business going as far as, are you just doing everything online with your clients?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I can't work in person in Asia because I could quite literally get deported. I pretty much only work online. So I do loads of online events. I do one-to-one online sessions. And the great thing with hypnotherapy and energy healing is you can totally do it online. Some hypnotherapy techniques you can't use, but you can use most of them. And then with energy healing, energy is everywhere. You've just got to be able to tap into it. It's like a radio frequency or Wi-Fi. It's like, how does that work? You're just tapping into the correct connection. And then it flows. So that's all I'm doing with energy healing. And I'm finding that people are actually finding it just as good, which is amazing. But it's definitely been a massive kick up the butt with COVID, because until then I was kind of just hoping things are going to happen in my business and it's going to start flowing. But when COVID kicked in and I had no options whatsoever to do anything else but my business, it was, okay, so I've got to really get my gear on and really start increasing this. And it's been amazing. I've had such incredible shifts in it, and I've been able to give so much more to my clients because of those shifts. And yeah, it's just about how you take the experiences and what life throws at you. Or every obstacle is a beautiful gift in disguise of it's teaching you a lesson. It's trying to push you towards something even bigger. And if we kind of just allow that to happen, and instead of asking, why is this happening to me, just ask, but what is this teaching me? Where is this trying to take me? It's amazing what comes up. Like one of my biggest challenges during COVID was actually I got a major life diagnosis as everything started off getting really bad. Flights were completely stopping in Bali. We had about a week left max of flights leaving the country, and England was doing like emergency flights out. And I couldn't get medication here. And without medication, my health was going to get a lot worse. And I was faced with the decision, do I stay here where I can get the healthcare, where COVID could get really bad in a third world country where the healthcare is really bad, or do I go back to the UK where everything is more expensive, a little bit more miserable? That was my perspective anyway. And I would have to leave my partner because Kia had to stay here. And it was so terrifying. But it was an amazing lesson, because what I realized by asking, why is this happening in this moment? Like, there's a reason why I've been very accidentally diagnosed. Like, I didn't even know anything was wrong. In this moment where it's chaos all over the world, where you can't get medication, you can't very easily go home. And it really pushed me into using natural methods to heal and really looking to those resources and doing everything I can to manage my health in that way, which I have been doing very effectively. And if that situation hasn't happened, if it didn't happen then, the first thing I would have done is gone on medication. and just ignored it and just stayed on medication for the rest of my life, and it would have been fine. So there was a really beautiful lesson in that timing, and I've gone on an incredible healing journey because of it, and discovered many deep layers to heal, like we have throughout our whole lifetime. It's like peeling an onion. You fix one thing, the next one comes up. Your whole life.
That's just life. That's just life. So, I bet a lot of people right now are trying to start something online. You know, how did you from Bali actually market yourself to get clients?
Honestly, I finally admitted to myself I can't do this on my own, and I got a business coach. And I did group online coaching, and I got help. And that has been a massive shift for me. And I started that about 3 months ago, maybe more now, maybe 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got to a point now where I'm hiring people to help me run my business. So it's been really, really incredible. And just that shift of, okay, I know with my mental health and with my energetical health, I can do everything on my own. I've accepted that. But for some reason, I was still in that stubborn mindset of, I have to do everything myself in my business. I've got to learn all the accounting and all the marketing and advertising and sales. And it's crazy how much you have to be able to do to be successful as an entrepreneur. And there are so many people out there with these beautiful, incredible gifts, but they're not able to share them because they're not good entrepreneurs. But there's people out there that can help us with that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with money. You can exchange skills. You can offer them something and they can offer you something in exchange. And it can be a beautiful energetical skill exchange. And that's what I started off with. I couldn't afford a coach. And I actually came across during my path somebody that was a coach. And I kind of bit the bullet and very scarily asked, would you be up for a skill swap, pretty please? And it turns out it was a perfect match. I just had to find the courage to ask for that help and reach out, or even ask, do you know somebody else that would be interested in doing this? And just using that network to find somebody that was right.
Exactly. And you said the magic word, ask.
Absolutely.
You know, we have to be willing to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, be willing to hear no if it's no. But, you know, I learned something really early on, and it was, it doesn't hurt to ask. They can only say no. They can say no, totally. But it doesn't affect anything. You're still in the same place. So you might as well just ask what's in your heart, or what you need, or what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that I learned along my journey, because I'm terrible with no's, it really hits deep in my heart, because I've just got this innate nature to want to help. And when I get that no, I really struggle with it. And one of the books I read, it was called Go for No. I don't remember who actually wrote it now.
I've heard of that book, yeah.
Yeah, and it basically says collect the no's, because it's statistics. Not everybody can say no to you. You've just got to find the right people that will say yes. Mm-hmm. And by going through the masses and by finding all the no's and by counting all the no's, you're actually going towards your yeses. And sometimes the first ask is going to be a yes, and then the other 90% would be a no. And sometimes you've got to get through the 90% of no's before you can get your perfect yes. Mm-hmm. And that has really, really helped me to kind of shift that mindset of, actually, they're not rejecting me. It's just, we're not a right fit. We're not a right match. And that's okay. And that's why there's space for all these amazing healers and professions and so many people to be in that one thing, because we all deliver a different message and we all are able to help different people. We all have different techniques. We all have different things to offer, and we all vibe with different people. And we've just got to find our own little tiny tribe out in the world and start attracting them into our lives.
Exactly. So who would be the person in your tribe? Who would be what is the characteristic of a person that you work with?
Oh, you mean my clients?
Yes. What would they be looking for?
Okay, so my clients are usually people that kind of have already that drive to want more from life. They just don't know how to get it. So especially because I work with energy, they generally tend to be at least slightly energetically aware or open to the idea of energy. But they also tend to be people kind of at the beginning of their spiritual journey, and I tend to help them along the way. Because a lot of the things that I do is mainly I help people kind of follow their dreams, accomplish them, or even realize them if they don't know where they want to go. They've just got that drive of, I want more, I just don't know how to get it or what to do. But the other thing is that willingness to actually do something about it, not just wanting somebody to fix you and do everything for you, but wanting to learn the tools to be able to do something yourself eventually. So what I do is I take my clients on for longer periods of time. I kind of take them through different packages. And it's about learning the tools to take care of your own energetical health, to take care of your own mental health, to develop techniques and routines throughout your day and in your week and in your lifestyle so that you can function in a very effective way and that you can heal whatever comes up for you throughout your time and your life and how you perceive the world as well. Kind of one of those things, like we said earlier, of life isn't happening to you, you are creating life. And it's not about asking, why is this happening to me, because you're not the victim. It's asking, what's the lesson in this, because our environment is constantly communicating with us, telling us what's working or not working in our lives and how we can improve that and work with it, and kind of teaching my clients, this is what's happening, this is what's being communicated to you, and this is what you can do with it. So that as I'm taking them through that journey and I'm healing their deeper wounds, they're learning how to continue on their own eventually, so that once we finish, they've got all these tools and all these hacks on continuing without me, and that they're not reliant on me unless something major comes up again in the future.
Mm-hmm. So do a lot of people who come to you have a specific goal or something they're working towards that they want you to help them with? Like a
Not
business or
necessarily.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not necessarily. It can just be a case of, I'm not quite satisfied in my life right now. I want something more and I don't know what it is, and wanting to kind of heal whatever's going on within them to be able to accomplish more from life. And sometimes that's as simple as, I just want to feel more confident, or I want to be in a happier relationship. It doesn't have to be a big life mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that wanting more and wanting to do something about it. That's really important with my clients. If somebody comes to me and they just want me to do everything for them and they don't want to learn how to empower themselves, then I just redirect them to different healers, because that's just not my style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're empowering people to just do things on their own after a while, which is what we want and need. I definitely do. I don't want to have to keep depending on one person. What if you leave? What if you're gone? What if you move on to the next country? You know what I mean? Because you can't.
Well, that's the great thing of working online. You can still connect.
Yes. But what I'm saying is sometimes people aren't always there. So, for example, I have a acupuncturist that I love her to death, but guess you know what? It was time for her to retire, and I'm like, I'm at a loss.
Yeah, I totally
so I can't
understand.
do acupuncture on myself.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's good to learn the tools so that you can continue on and use the, you know, use the help and support when it's there. But we can't, even in life, you can't depend on who's going to be there and who's not going to be there. So
absolutely. And it's amazing to watch what can happen when you actually empower people to do things themselves. Like, obviously, like whenever we think of charity work, it is very much everybody saying it's not just about giving the money, it's about teaching them how to help themselves so that they can start creating that income themselves. And a lot of charities do that. But we don't seem to think that around our mental health or around our daily habits or around our energetical health of, oh yeah, actually, I need to empower myself as well. No matter where we are in life, no matter how successful we may be or how happy we may be, we can always increase that and make it better and just work on that and go to completely different lengths. And it's amazing what life can bring to us. And just when you think, I couldn't be happier right now, life throws another beautiful thing at you and you're constantly surprised. But happiness does take some work. You do need to take care of yourself. You do need to learn techniques of recognizing when things are flowing, when they aren't flowing, and how to deal with that and how to release it. And it saves you so much money when you can do it yourself and not rely on somebody every single time.
yes, it does. So I wanted to ask you, I'm kind of switching gears here. I've found this to be an interesting question because it's different for everyone. Would you be willing to share your morning routine with us?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's really helpful. I think it's critical to have a morning routine, and it's going to be
Yes,
different for everyone, but I would like to know what yours is.
absolutely. I would love to. So recently it's changed a lot because of my health stuff. I've been like focusing my morning routine much more directed like at my health. Originally, have you heard of The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod?
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. Wow. Okay. So he talks about a morning routine, and he talks about like these key 6 steps called the lifesavers. And he's done a lot of research. He's got an incredible story, and I found it really inspiring reading his book to inspire me into doing my own morning routine. Because originally I was like, I don't want to get up more early and get less sleep just to do some stuff that I can do in the evening. But it's amazing how powerful it is when you do actually do it in the morning and make yourself priority. And he talks about silence, so some form of a meditation or act of silence, affirmations, visualization, scribing, so journaling, exercise, and reading, so reading some kind of a self-development book. And he says even if you do every single one of those for 5 minutes every day, so you just do 30 minutes a day, that will set you up for the day. And originally that's what I was doing, and I was really sticking to it. But I am not a very good creature of habit. I really like change, and I get bored really quickly. So that wasn't working for me anymore. And I got really bored because it was just the same thing every morning. And I realized that I actually like spending more time on one thing rather than a little bit of time on lots of things. So I started mixing it up, and I started spending maybe like half an hour on 2 different things, and then just switching it around throughout the days. And it's one of the things that I actually teach my clients is develop a morning routine. But it's very much of a, you've got to find something that fits you. It's not about reading a book and somebody telling you this is the perfect way, because if you're then not going to do it, it's not the perfect way for you. It might be a proven way that's guaranteed to help, but if you can't bring yourself to do it, then there's no point doing it in that way. You've just got to find steps at a time and not reach for the perfect ending. Just find those little steps that you can do along the way to make it work for you. And sometimes I'm really religious with my morning routines, and I'm able to do like 2 hours a day, and I'm able to get everything in. And then there are times in my life where I have to be a little bit more flexible and make that work and not let myself feel like I failed because I haven't done it in the quotation marks perfect way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes sense. It's kind of like the make your bed so you can get one thing done rule.
Yeah,
So.
definitely. And I've actually started spreading it out a little bit throughout the day now as well. So I still like to incorporate most of the things that Hal was talking about, those lifesavers. But I don't necessarily force myself to do them all at the beginning of the day. So I still have a morning routine. I still do some of them at the start. But then it might be that actually, because I need a break from work, it forces me to have a break if I go have a half-hour meditation, or I go for a swim for 20 minutes, or I do a little bit of yoga at the end of the day. And then I can kind of like mix it up a little bit to actually encourage that well-being throughout the day, because when you're working for yourself, you totally forget to actually leave the laptop and have a break.
Yeah.
And it allows for that to happen.
Yeah, and we really need that, even if it's something simple. Like, I mean, during the summer, I like to go to the pool.
Yeah.
And sometimes I even take my computer. We have internet at the pool. So sometimes I'll even take my, laptop down there, do my work, swim, do my work. But there's so many things you can do. So creative, you can be so creative with it.
Yes,
Make it
absolutely.
interesting. So, but as you're working with clients, and they hit obstacles or walls, or how do you help them through that?
I try to help them realize where the obstacle is coming from within them. So rather than telling them, I try to kind of that like coaching, talking therapy side of things, where you're trying to get them to realize, because that's where I feel like the empowerment comes from. If you just tell them where that's coming from or try to fix it for them, then they can't do it themselves the next time they come up with a block. So sometimes it just might be a conversation, and other times it might be taking them on a guided meditation where I teach them about like their favorite place of relaxation and grounding, all that kind of stuff. So usually by the time they come to a block, they know these techniques already. And we kind of go into that space, and I teach them how to do it themselves next time, to kind of go into that space of putting your ego aside and just asking, what's happening here? What's the lesson in this? What's the pattern? And just asking the right questions and teaching them to trust their own intuition and kind of go into their own divine, beautiful selves and see what's happening in there without trying to think about it too much, without using the conscious part of their brain, but kind of teaching them to go into the techniques of just let go, ask, and see what comes back to you. And that takes a bit of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's people who would love to work with you now that they know what you do and how you're doing it. Maybe get some help on their morning routine.
Oh yeah, totally.
How can people contact you or get a hold of you?
So the easiest way is probably go onto my website, mariashealing.com, and my contact details are on there. Either send me an email or send me a WhatsApp message. So I do have a business WhatsApp. If they try to call my British number, it's very difficult to get a hold of me, but WhatsApp is really easy, or email as well, works really well.
Beautiful. So just a personal question. What for you gives you the most incredible, amazing life?
Say that one again.
What for you makes a life that's incredible or amazing?
All the beautiful unknown surprises. I love not knowing where life is going to take me. I love that I have been able to let go of the fact that I don't know where I'm going to be in a month or in a week. Well, now COVID has kind of made sure that I stay in one place, but life is so full of beautiful surprises and so full of lessons and obstacles, and it's so incredible to watch who you can become through those and be constantly surprised by yourself and by what the environment throws at you and what the universe throws at you. And I've been really enjoying that. It's been giving me so much drive for life and so much passion, and it's inspired me to inspire other people so much more, because I go through so many of these obstacles and I constantly actively put myself into situations where I am totally out of my comfort zone, because I'm constantly changing people and environments and habits and routines. This is constantly changing. And it's so beautiful how it just grows you so much, and how it connects you to the world so much and into the energy of the universe, and to feel the connectedness of everyone and the divinity of everyone, and to be able to expand through that, and to be able to learn from all the incredible teachers and healers in the world as I travel through all the different cultures and experiences, and to enrich my life that way so that I can grow even more, so I can help my clients even more. And that just fills me with so much joy to know that I'm able to do what I love, what serves me the most, what gives me energy, but it's helping me become the best and highest version of myself I can be, so I can serve my clients even more, and I can keep growing, and I can keep learning and expanding. And that's really, really beautiful.
It is really, really beautiful. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for sharing and your experience and your adventures.
It has been my absolute pleasure, Kim. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And one last question before we get off. What is your best advice for people to have the most amazing life?
Jump into the unknown. It's terrifying. Your fear is always going to get in the way. Those voices are always going to come into your head telling you not to do it, because your body's going to want to stay in the comfort. But just jump, take that first step into what you don't know where it's going to take you towards that goal, and just take it from there. Just take those baby steps and just find the courage within yourself, or find somebody to help you find that courage to take that first step, and just continue and keep taking it forward. Because once you take that first step into the unknown and you keep going, it's so magical where life can take you. And I don't think anybody can predict where your life will take you once you start stepping into the unknown, because it's just so full of so many beautiful surprises and journeys and adventures and lessons. And it's so worth all the obstacles that come along the way because of it.
All right. Well,
That
thank
would
you so
be.
much, Maria, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Kim. Have a great day.